This is K.M. Weiland, and you're listening to the 73rd episode of the Wordplay Podcast. It's been a good week for writing around here. After struggling through some difficult scenes in my work in progress, The Deepest Breath, I hit a groove and sailed through some relatively easy and very fun writing sessions. I'm sailing along with the climax in view. I also got hit with the possible kernel of a new story idea, something decidedly historical, with perhaps some fantasy elements thrown in. So I'm riding the inspiration high on double fronts right now, and trying to milk the buzz for all it's worth and make it last as long as possible. The November issue of my e-letter hit inboxes last week. It included the usual roundup of inspirational quotes, creativity jumpstarters, and helpful links, as well as the article, Watch Out for Slang Overkill. If you're not receiving the e-letter and would like to, you can sign up for my mailing list on my website at kmweiland, that's weiland.com/mailing-list.php. You can read back issues online at kmweiland.com/e-letter-issues.php. The winner of this month's Helping Writers Become Authors network drawing is Gretchen Scarzi. As her prize, she will receive a copy of Charles Baxter's book, The Art of Subtext. Members of the network will be automatically entered in this month's drawing for the wonderful book 13 Ways of Looking at the Novel by Jane Smiley. You can join the network for great benefits and special package deals by visiting kmweiland.com/network.php. The Importance of a Fabulous Setting, the latest post in the video series on my blog, shows how fantasy author Brandon Sanderson brought the final empire to life with an exquisite setting. You can watch the video on my blog at wordplay-kmweiland.blogspot.com. New videos are posted every Wednesday. Meanwhile, enjoy this week's podcast. Are you dating your fiction? As conscientious writers, we work hard to get the details of our stories right. We want the language our characters use to reflect their lifestyles and personalities. We want their books, movies, magazines, and music to ring true in our recreations of the real world. And we need all the references and explanations of technology, style, and even healthcare to shine with accuracy. When we're able to put a proud red check mark next to each of these items, we have every right to be pleased. But we also have reason to proceed with caution. As someone who reads classic literature on a regular basis, I've made it my modest goal to read all the classics before I die, I've had cause to ponder the fact that the history I'm reading about in these books was as fresh as a just-peeled banana to the likes of Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, and George Eliot. No doubt these authors lavished attention on bringing their modern worlds to life, and yet their work, for better or worse, strikes 21st century readers as decidedly dated. To some extent, I find this a grand thing, since it allows me, as a reader, to glean a first-hand glimpse, untarnished and unvarnished by the opinions and suppositions of historians, into previous eras. On the other hand, many a book by a lesser author has lost all hope of timelessness thanks to its heavy use of cutting-edge references, which may be fresh today, but which will have grown stale and flat in 10 years. In Michael A. Banks's article, Avoid Dating Your Work with Overused Words and Phrases, the writer, August 2010, he argues against using slang and jargon in your writing, at least jargon that's likely to be transient. Today you won't hear or read, "Oh, what a tough sweater." Ditto, "That's a boss song." Similarly, if readers encounter a character referring to his girlfriend as a groovy chick, they might chuckle and look to see if the novel bears a 1967 copyright. If it doesn't, and it's not a period piece, the usage may grate on readers or leave them confused. Like most trendy slang, those usages become relics of the past. Pleasing both our present and future readers can seem like an impossible task, but with a little bit of foresight and practicality, we can sidestep the most egregious pitfalls by taking the following into consideration. 1. If you don't need it, don't use it. If a particular line of slang or a pop culture reference isn't absolutely necessary, why include it? Modern readers will probably never miss it, and future readers can't stumble over what isn't there. 2. Let the context do the talking. When you do retain potentially dated material, make sure the meaning is evident from the context. Don't annoy modern readers by going out of your way to explain, but take a moment to consider how what you've written will sound to future audiences. 3. Avoid branding. Generality may be the death of the novel, but utilizing brand names isn't always the best way to be specific. Instead of Cherry Coke, why not just Cherry Soda? Who knows if Coke will still be around in days to come? Be aware, but don't obsess. At the end of the day, we're always writing primarily for our immediate readers, since without them, we're not likely to garner any future fans. Don't feel as if you need to eliminate all potentially dated references, particularly since doing so is impossible. Just be aware that those you do use may be shorter-lived than any of us now think. Thank you for listening to the Wordplay Podcast. To read a transcript of this episode, visit me on the web at wordplay-kmwyland, that's weiland.blogspot.com, and be sure to listen again next week.